30 seconds or so everybody can see it.
So for those of you who just joined us, hi, I'm Elle Oliver, and in the chat box, I have put in a link for you to take what we call a pre-workshop survey. You see AAUW, that's an American Association for University Women. And if you would go ahead, and it should take it just a few minutes. So if you will go over while we're getting started here and complete that assessment or that survey. Appreciate it. Sound like we have a new young person with us. Excuse me, I better.
You have to be quiet.
Well, I just muted everybody, including you, so you can unmute.
Huh?
All right, guys, we'll get started here in about 1 minute. There's a poll that's being put into the chat. Make sure that you're doing that. A pre-workshop survey takes about 2 minutes. So please do that before we get started with the workshop. You'll see it at its www.aauw.us/SS. And when you go there, it's Survey Monkey. Just answer the questions. Elle Oliver is the facilitator. And once we get everybody here, we're at 31 right now. Ellen, you're in a mute status right now too. There you go. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you've taken the survey and you're done. Okay, a couple. All right. Now, I think it's important that we get that done. That way, then you get some tracking on here. We're at 32 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So if there's anybody that hasn't taken the survey, it is at aauw.us/SS. The facilitator is me, Elle Oliver. And if you haven't, if you'll take that assessment very quickly, that would be great. And then we'll get started. When you come back in, after you've taken the assessment, will you give us a thumbs up, as Michael just said? That's a great idea. Thank you.
All right, and while you guys are doing that, I'll just give you a couple of quick updates. On Thursday, we'll work through your project 2, and I will have reviewed them by then and see where you're at, so we can finish that up. And I did send out a note with the workbook for this workshop. It was attached. Hopefully, you guys got it. You'll need to refer to that periodically during the session. I think you're going to really enjoy the session, and you're going to walk away with some really cool tools that you'll be able to use to help you, like I said, right behind me, negotiate for more, increase your chances for better pay and better jobs in many cases. Also, I know you guys will all be disappointed, but I did throw out there that during the next Tuesday, a week from today, what did I say? Did anybody remember?
No class.
I knew you, Brian, I knew you'd be the first one. All right, that's right. No class a week from tonight. We did a beautiful job on the election project, and it's your night, but we won't have class. I plan on following along with the election results, and I think you guys would probably be doing that if we tried to hold class. So so let's just not bother. And then we'll pick back up again, but we will meet this Thursday though. So and then I'll remind you again. Okay, got thumbs up coming down. Anybody not done the survey yet? We're at 33 people. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3,
Unknown
4,
caller. Unknown caller.
4, 5, let's see. Screen over, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So Elle, if you want, we'll go ahead and get started, but I will tell you that we have 34 people on and we have 8 scholarly young gentlemen, and whatever 34 minus 8 is, 26. Very intelligent young women that are in this class. So so that's what we'll roll with number wise. Maybe somebody joining later, but I don't want to delay it any longer. All right, guys. So we have a guest today, Elle Oliver. This is, I don't know, Elle, probably our 3rd, maybe 4th year or something like that, doing this workshop. Been very popular through the American Association of University Women, which is a volunteer group nationwide of college graduated women that mentor and help young women be successful in a wide variety of ways. And one of them is by these workshops. So this is a workshop called Start Smart, and it's designed to help you be more in tune for your opportunities that you might come across job-wise, interviewing, negotiating, getting more pay in your present job, so forth. So that's the tools that you're going to learn here in the next short while. Elle's going to walk us through that. She has some slides. We have a poll we're going to take right up front, and make sure that you've done the pre-survey. We'll take a few minutes before class is over, and we'll do a post-survey, and we'll see what you've learned. So so Elle, I'm going to launch the poll. Let them take the poll, and then you take over. Okay?
Okay, sounds good. I've got this, so I'll stop sharing, right?
No, not at all.
Okay,
Yeah, no, you're co-host, so let me launch this,
okay.
and because I put it together. All right, guys, so we're going to start off with a quick poll on your careers, and here we go.
I'll let you do the poll.
Where are you in your career? I'm already in my desired career. I'm interviewing for my desired career, working in a job until graduation, then looking for a career. I was going to add a 4th one, which is I do not plan on working for the rest of my life because I'm going to be an entrepreneur and build my own business, and that will be my career. But I didn't fit that in there. Okay, so let's see, we've got 28 of 32, so we're getting close, 29. Okay, a couple more real quick, 90%, 93. Okay, 2 more. All right, come on, one more. Who hasn't voted? All right, here we go. Okay, I'm going to end the polling so we can get rolling with the program and share the results. And Elle, welcome to our humble abode here and our classroom, virtual, and the show is yours.
Okay, so, well, I think Michael has shown you the results of this poll, and why I asked the question is to find out where you really are and when you will be, or how soon you might be looking to be doing some negotiating. So again, I'm Elle Oliver, and my background is working in the world of career transition, working with people going through career transition. And really what we want to do today, this is through AAUW, is to share with you information so that you can be most effective when you get into a situation where you are actually negotiating. So that's where we'll go from here. So welcome, glad to meet you all, and we'll see if I can keep moving here through this process. Okay, so it's not going to let me do it. There it is. So I'm going to start out by asking you a question. You've all said that somewhere along the line, either soon or you are in the process of negotiating, what do you see as your biggest challenge in negotiating your salary and benefits? And I would ask that you unmute and answer this question. So I can't see you all, so let's just kind of watch for everyone else that's here. And if you will unmute and answer your question, answer the question. Anybody?
I think my biggest fear in negotiating would be just fear and shyness to begin with.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
No, it would just be shyness and fear, just because the fear, you don't know what exactly they're going to respond to or how they're going to react to you asking for a raise or a better salary.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. That was Wendy. Thank you, Wendy.
No problem.
Anyone else?
I also think that part of what I would think is my biggest challenge, it would be not knowing how much is too much. Like, I don't want to ask for too much and then put them off, or ask for too little and then, you know, they say okay when I could have gotten more.
Good. That's great. And to Wendy's comment, yes, we'll talk about how to overcome that through preparation, being fearful. And to Joanna's question or comment there, yes, we'll talk about how do you get them to let you know what's going to keep you from getting the job, certainly for them going ahead, but also how you can get them to answer that question up front so you know that you're not going over. So we'll talk about that. Thanks, Joanna. Anyone else?
I think fear of rejection.
Okay, fear of rejection.
That's one thing that a lot of people would not negotiate their salaries, just fear of rejection or being looked at like in details and being terminated maybe sometimes. That actually happened to me.
Okay. They won't want you because you negotiated.
Yeah, they technically see that someone else could do the job and they don't even need to pay more.
Okay, and we'll talk a little bit how to overcome that from the front end and from the back end. That's good. That's a good, very good question and statement. So thank you for that. Anyone else?
Maybe not knowing how to start the negotiating process.
Okay, where to start? All right, and we will talk about that too. Great. Anyone else? Feel few. I think you covered a good deal of the questions that most people have or concerns that most people have. I really that went about thinking they'll go find somebody else if you try to negotiate. And that probably isn't going to be the situation, but let me take you through the process and I think you'll get an idea of why that's not going to be necessarily the situation. So yes, in other words, what you're going for now, believe it or not, when you're negotiating is a win-win. And sometimes people are afraid that if they negotiate that they're going to eliminate that opportunity for that win-win. So our goal is to help you, to empower you as you negotiate, and also to make it sure that it is aligned with your value and your worth. So that's the real goal. And there's 4 steps to negotiating. Let me share those with you. First of all, you need to know what you're worth and what your value. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then secondly, you'll need to take time to identify your target salary and your benefits. And you'll want to develop your own strategy, a plan, and of course, practice, practice, practice. That always makes us much better at everything, right? So those are the steps. And again, this is an abbreviated version of the Start Smart workshop, but I'm going to start out with knowing your value. So to know your value, really, here's some things that you can do. So you want to start first of all at asking yourself, what is it that differentiates you? By the way, throughout the workshop today, you've got the workbook there. You can jot some notes down, or you can jot some notes in your phone, or however you choose to do that. But I'd like you to think about what is it that you bring to the table? What makes you a very good candidate when you go out there to interview? And we're talking about probably the career that you're going into, but what is it that you bring to the table that makes you so strong? And I know when you're working with Michael, Mike, through the professor, if you will, through this process, that you will have had some talk about what you bring to the table and what you do and what you can do as an entrepreneur or in your career. Okay, so, and then again, what is that value that you're going to bring? What can you do for the organization that you're going into? And sometimes we talk about, is it bottom line that you can do something with as far as the dollars? Or is it something that you can do as far as the organization or the growth of the company, or even streamlining processes? What is it that your background and your experience demonstrate as you and what you'll do as far as contributing towards the job that you're seeking? By the way, this is a very abbreviated version of the workshop. We used to offer it in 2 hours. So I'm going to throw things out there that ordinarily I would say, hey, go to page 8 in your workshop and write, in your workbook and write all this down. But for this purpose, I'm just going to say, what is it that you would think of or that you would jot down for yourself? So what are those accomplishments and things that you bring to the table for the position that you're seeking? So think about that for yourself when you go, before you negotiate. And then I'd like you to think about how you would state that. So thinking in terms of, okay, I accomplished certain things using my certain skills, which benefited the company by. So even if you're not in your career, but you're working another job, whether it be retail or something like that, what is it that you accomplished? So what did you do? What were the skills that you used? And how did the company benefit? So you start thinking about what an accomplishment truly is. By the way, when you develop your resume, that's the kind of thing that you're going to want to put on your resume is what have you accomplished? And it doesn't have to be exactly the same because you're going to highlight skills that you have that you've used perhaps in another capacity, whether it be on a volunteer basis or whether it be in a career that's other than the one that you're going towards. Hopefully that makes sense. So, and again, thinking in terms along those lines. So that's what we're talking about, articulating your value. Being able to say, hey, this is what I offer. Okay. And during negotiating, you want to advocate for yourself. This is, I always say the job search and the job negotiation is not the time to be humble, right? You want to be able to tell them what you have. So I'm going to recommend that you keep a journal and maybe update it weekly with any achievements and anything you're going through. By the way, when people are already in their jobs, we have a tendency to just do our jobs, so on and so forth. Sometimes we set performance goals, but the truth is that most of the time we don't remember everything that we've done and what we've achieved. So I'm recommending that where you are in your careers or in your planning now, that you generate that information. And again, think beyond just the tasks you do, but how does that fit into the big picture? In other words, why are you doing what you're doing and what is the result of that? And the other question I would ask you to, or suggest that you ask yourself is, if you didn't do your job right or well, what might be the potential downfall or result of that? So again, think in terms of what you do bring to the table. And an example of this might be, I launched a campaign to raise awareness around violence on campus using my leadership and communication skills, which led to the university strengthening its policies on sexual violence, reducing reported incidents by 15% within the year. Or in a job, I developed a training program for new hires using my project management and leadership experience. This benefited the company by decreasing turnover by 32%. Again, what we're looking at is what it was that you did, and then quantify your work when you can. And by the way, a lot of times, like when we're in sales or things like that, we keep track of all of those things. But when we're actually doing work that is not sales, we don't necessarily do that. So if you can't quantify your work, then certainly qualify your work and realize that everything counts. So be keeping track of those things that you accomplish in the work that you're doing today. Or even as I know you've got projects in class, that can be something that you want to keep track of and add it to your resume, or at least have it to talk about when you go in to negotiate. So yes, we didn't start off with negotiating, but we will start talking about negotiating in just a second. So just remember that you are your own brand. If you can't tell them what you have to offer, they probably will not be able to see what you have to offer. A saying I made up, and you've probably heard this before, it's not just, the saying was, it's not just what you know, it's who you know. And it's just, nepotism or something. The truth is, it's not just what you know, and it's not just who you know, it's who knows what you know. And when you're going into a new job, they don't know what you know, right? So you need to tell them. So you are your own brand. And by the way, do you have any questions or comments about what I've said so far? Feel free to unmute and reach out there. Pretty clear? Pretty simple?
So far, so good.
Okay, thank you. And next is know your target strategy and benefits. So that's step 2. So you want to think about what it is that you bring to the table. And by the way, you notice the bottom, it does say which page in your workbook this information is there. So if you print out your workbook, it's handy, but you also can go back to these to get this information. So knowing your benefits, knowing what you're worth, and what's in the marketplace. So you want to set a target, a salary range, and then a target salary. And there's a lot of ways of doing this. There's information on Glassdoor. It's pretty subjective. And we're going to suggest linking to salary.com. And if you know of other places to go and find target salaries, let me know. Okay. And you can put that in the chat, or you can jump in and tell me. Anybody else? Any place that you look? So we're going to tell you for now about salary.com. In salary.com, you can go in and research and find a comparable and aligned job title. So you'll put in the job title of the job that you're going for, and perhaps location, because it does change from location to location. And then we're going to use an example of a public relations specialist. And that public relations specialist, if you see this, when you put it into salary.com, it'll show you the range for that particular job. And what we're looking to do is establish that target salary. So if you put this position in, and by the way, this is really pretty cool because it also gives you the opportunity to say, here's my education, here are my years of experience, I've had direct reports, those types of things. That's really helpful too. And within there, you can also generate the benefits, detailed job information, and other similar jobs, and look at those too. But establishing your target salary, you can see this example, it's somewhere between about $50,000 and say $58,000 or $60,000 would be what we'd call a target salary range. We usually look at midpoint, and then we look at maybe another 5 to 10% above that as far as establishing your target salary range. Now, this is for you to do. This is not what you're going to express to them later. However, you need to know that ahead of time. So know what you're worth, or what the market is usually bearing for that particular job that you're going towards. And very important too, I think you probably know that already, is what are you going to actually be able to bring home? In this particular state, there are lots of taxes. So I'm going to recommend that you have handy for yourself, and you can jot this down if you don't already have it, but Paycheck City, where you can go in and you can generate your target salary. In other words, what's your take-home pay going to be based on that annual salary? And so you can put in, this one happens to say Washington, D.C. because AAUW headquarters is in Washington, D.C. But you could put in your gross pay, and then you can put in your frequency, and then it will generate for you the types of withholding you'll have, and then what your weekly, biweekly, monthly, whatever it might be, take-home pay. And you'd be checking that against, of course, your budget. All right. And we do suggest that as you're going out into the negotiation process, that you review or create yourself a budget. You need to know what your take-home pay has to be within a company. So that really is your bottom line, what you must be making. And again, that may start with what can be your target range. In other words, you probably won't look at jobs that cannot achieve your target range, at least cover your basics. And if you do find that your budget is higher than the target range, then what were you going to do? Well, you're probably going to have to go out and find another, either get a second job, or you're going to have to find a different job to look at, right? And again, this is based on objective data. Also, one other thing you may want to do is to determine a walkaway point. That would be, okay, here's where I can say, okay, here's my target range, but my budget is a little lower than that. So I can now say, where can I walk away? How soon can I walk away? What is that point where I have to say, nope, this isn't going to cover my budget, or I can handle it, but it's not quite to my range, but I can still handle it and cover my budget. Okay. So that's your walkaway point. And oops, I am sorry. Hey, hi everybody. I actually dropped my share status. Question, comment so far? I'll throw that out there.
Hi, I had a question.
Uh-huh.
Just by like looking at the salary.com and stuff, well, my father has been working at his current job for more than 36 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not getting paid. Like if he was to be in this position where like he'd want to ask for more, he's already over 60 years old. For him, would it be even worth it to ask for a raise? Or they'd be like, you know what, okay, I'd rather just hire someone else and pay them a lot less.
I'll tell you a couple of things. We have another workshop. This one is called Start Smart, and that one's called Work Smart. And I'll give you a link at the end of this where you can go online and learn about negotiating for bonuses. We're usually talking here about going into jobs. I mean, it will really depend on where he is in the salary range. Salary.com might give him some ideas, but he really has to look at what's going on within that company and how he can justify that he's worth more than he's being paid. And you're right, that does happen sometimes. People go in, and that's kind of what we're looking at this. Get you to stop thinking, well, gee, I can just get so much and that's fine. But they thinking in terms of getting as much as you can up front, so that we know that exponentially over a period of time, your raises, et cetera, based upon that base pay. So ultimately, it will not go up that fast. If you can negotiate now and get a lot of dollars, then you're in better shape than if you have to do it later. So I didn't exactly answer your question, but I would say, because I can't tell all the variables within his situation, but it might be worth it for him to sit down and think about what does he bring to the table and what more is he worth. Okay. Within companies, they also do kind of a leveling, so they make sure that everybody is paid the same kind of money. So that might be a reason why he isn't getting promoted any farther, despite the fact, or more money, despite the fact he's been there a long time.
Yeah, despite like management just I guess they haven't even seen the owner in like years. So they haven't gotten even like a bonus in years.
Oh my
So
God.
management had just changed. And it's just like they want things cheaper. They want
that's typical.
Just cheaper items, cheaper everything. So yeah, that's what I was asking.
Everything's about bottom line. And also right now with COVID, we've got the situation that people are trying to save money as much as they can. So that's something to get. Good question.
Hey, let me jump. Hey, can I jump in here for just a second and make a suggestion? Selena and everybody, new business creation and starting your own business is definitely, you have a lot more control over what you can do. So I don't know if he's entrepreneurial or maybe you can coach him, Selena, but I would suggest taking a look at
he's scared. He's honestly, I see him, he's really scared because he's so close to his retirement. But based on, he works at Marie Callender's, and so they bake pies. He knows how to do basically everything. He's been there for almost 40 years. So he says there's a lot of new people that just go in, make the lemon meringue pies, but they don't do them nice. They just do a lot, but they don't look nice.
Let's do this. We've got a lot to cover tonight. So
thank you.
I'll be happy to have a conversation with you offline. So
absolutely. And again, in his situation, I would just say maybe it's better that he not rock the boat, but he has to know all the material. He needs to know all the variables there before he makes a suggestion for an increase. Okay. All right. So back to what we were talking about is you are your own brand. So remember that you're the one that needs to tell people. And even in your case of your father, he needs to tell them what he brings to the table and remind them what he brings to the table on a regular basis. So the next step is strategy. And that's what we're going to talk about. Is step 3 is strategy. And that really is the tactics. And that could be data driven But what we need to do is, again, to be prepared to negotiate once an offer has been made to you. So there are several different steps. I think I might have left some of that out, but basically there is going to be a situation where you go into an interview, and then there's also another time to negotiate near the end of the interview. So when you get this question, and you might, what would you say? Anybody? No answers?
Maybe try and deflect somehow.
Yes, that's what the hand is over there, deflect, exactly. So they say, can you please tell me your salary history? By the way, your salary history in this state, they've made it so that you're not supposed to have to answer that question. So I don't know if you know that, but within the last few years, and that's because of the wage disparity, yes, between men and women, and of course, between minorities and so on and so forth. There's been that disparity. So that's why they've put these rules through, is that you're not supposed to talk about your salary history. This is really important for where you are in your careers, because if you're working at a job and you're making $15 an hour, but in your salary, I mean, in your next career, it might be $40 an hour, that is totally irrelevant, right? So when asked the question, you would probably, again, you would respond in a different way. And I'll talk about that, how you will answer. But first, how about if that is on online, you're filling out an application. What would your salary history? What would you say then?
I would put N-A.
Okay, in A, or you may have to put in what your salary history is. So sometimes you have to fill that out. But yes, so you're going to go ahead and give that figure if you have to. And then again, if you're asked the question, what's your salary history? Then here are some possible responses. You're probably not going to say, oh, that's not a fair question, that's illegal. You'll probably say something such as, this position is not exactly the same as my last job. I'd like to discuss what my responsibilities would be here and to determine a fair salary for this job. How does that sound? Okay. And
That
then,
sounds fair.
yeah. And then remember you said deflect. I love that. I already got that. Deflect or defer. And then the next, and there's an acronym that I like to keep in mind, and it's called DIR. You might want to jot that down. But the next thing you're going to do is say, what is the salary range you have budgeted for this position? Throw it back into their lap. So you don't give them a figure. You ask them what they have budgeted for the position. So that's the way that works, really. Again, that's the key thing. What is the range that you have budgeted? And they usually have it budgeted. By the way, legally in this state, they're actually supposed to answer that question for you. Okay. And then reveal, if you're pressured, you might reveal what your salary history was, but even if you reveal it, you would come back and say, and again, I was doing this type of work. This is a completely different, this is my career. This is what I prepared for. And you would justify it and talk about going forward. Okay. Then the next question that might come up is, what are your salary expectations? What would you say to that?
Enough to live in a high costly state.
Well, that's true too. You want to know that exactly. However, that's hard to fill out an application. That's probably not what they care about. But that's a good question. I mean, a good answer. What else? What happens if you get that question online? That's where that NA comes in, right? If you can. By the way, some online applications, you have to fill in a number. So
wouldn't we just kind of like, so say we're going into a similar position that we were working at, wouldn't we just go make the salary expectation higher than what we were recently getting paid?
Probably that could work. However, again, expectations, we should be based upon what we looked at, like at salary.com. What you're finding out is the average for that job, then looking at what your target is, and that would be what your salary expectations are. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so that's something that you need to do the research behind, have the research behind it. And once again, you're going to want to deflect. What happens if it's on a job application and you have to fill in a figure? Any thoughts on that?
So maybe by then we should have already researched what we are applying for.
Right. And if maybe you have a salary range, I'm just going to throw this out there, a salary range of $40,000 to $50,000. You may not give them that 40 to 50. You might give them, if you can live it, 35 to 40 or something like that. You could go low on the application. So go low there if you can live with that, because during the course of the actual negotiation, the interview and the negotiation, you're going to be establishing your worth. And so if that gets you in the door, then you can have the conversation about what your expectations are. And they can be different than what you put on that application. So get your foot in the door and then you go in for the interview. So then you can actually, again, look at the salary expectations or desired salary, and here's some of the responses you might use there. So thanks for your comment there. I'd like to learn more about the role before I set my salary expectations. As I move forward in the interview process, I expect my salary would line up with the market rates for similar positions in this area. So what does that mean? You have to have done your research, right? And another response might be, I'd rather talk about that after we had a chance to discuss your expectations and you've had time to learn what I can do for you and how I can contribute to your organization. So those are just a couple of statements. And then there's your deflecting, right? And then the next statement is, what's the salary range you're expecting to pay for this position? Or what is the salary range you have budgeted for this position? Okay. So by the way, they usually have a budgeted range. They may not give you the highest level at first, and then you can negotiate a little later. So that's going in. And then there's another piece. So now we're not going to cover interviewing today, except for that my comment is always, when you're in the interview process, be thinking what more you bring to the table than what's in the job description, and be thinking what you can offer them, so that if you feel like what they're going to offer you is a little low, you've got justification for going a little higher.
The justifications, would that be pretty much what degrees, what job experiences you have, and what you have behind your name, pretty much?
It could be. And say we were looking at that that position of the media position, that type of thing. Okay, so here's the range, and then as you're interviewing, they say, well, we also want you to be able to write these types of things, and we want you to be able to do these types of things. So it's anything that you can think of that you, during the time of the interview, you probably have talked about, because when you're saying, gee, based upon the position, what I've learned about it so far, you're going to be able to tell them then what it is that you bring to the table that's over and beyond what they originally thought about. That's what justifies the increase. Or everything you've talked about so far, based upon the fact that I can bring this to the table, and I can do the writing, and I can do the online on-screen presentations, I feel like I'm worth this much.
Okay.
Okay. So you're ready for an offer? And that's what we're talking about now. So now you get to the point that they say, I need to know what salary you want in order to make you an offer. And this happens quite a bit these days. It used to be they would put it in writing. Now they want to have the conversation. So they want to know what salary figure. So you've got to be thinking about this. By the way, one of the things I want to point out to you is, before you actually discuss salary, or that, what their offer is going to be, you make sure that you have the whole benefits package available to you, because that's going to make a difference. If you're going to have to pay $200 in insurance versus $500 in insurance, that's a big difference, right? As far as what you take home. So, and again, if you get an offer below what your target is, you definitely should plan to negotiate. Okay. And again, they usually want to know that. And then when you go into negotiations, so they've asked you this, and you may be doing it on the phone these days or on Zoom, but you want to make sure that you have your notes with you. You also want to make sure that you stay positive and flexible, and know that it's not a battle. It is a conversation. You're looking for a win-win for everybody. You don't want to get too personal with it, and they don't care what we were talking about before. They don't care what you have a lot of expenditures because we live in LA. They don't care if you have a lot of expenditures because you're taking care of somebody that's sick or something like that. Okay, so, and I'll be ready to see what their reactions, responses might be. And by the way, they've picked you. So at this point in time, they've gone through this. They've said, okay, there's other 5 candidates. I've talked to them. They're ready to make you an offer. This is your best point for negotiating because this is where they can, because they want you, right? As I mentioned, have that benefits package ready. So there's a lot of things that you could negotiate for. Here's some ideas. If you can think of some others, let me know. And make sure that you get it in writing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of a role play. Michael, are you with me? Do you think we have time to do a little practice session?
Yeah, sure. We got about 20 minutes and we can do breakout or we do role play. What do you want to do?
Let's do the role play if we
Sure.
can. And I'm
Sure.
going to have to go break out and go get it. I'm sorry.
I got it here.
Okay.
You want me to read your part and mine both? Or
You
gonna-
want to do both or let me stop share and I will pull out my role play sheet.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I think, okay. So,
So the scene here is that
please.
you're now at your meeting with the final meeting. They made you an offer and you're going to discuss it with them and try and not leave money on the table, which means let's make sure it works for you and that they're comfortable with it too.
Okay. So, you're going to be the employer, okay? So, let's see. Okay, so I'll start out. Hi, Mike. Thank you for meeting with me today. I'm excited to talk about your offer and to review the details about joining the organization.
Well, we think you're an excellent candidate for the position and would fit in well at our company. Given that, we hope you will accept our offer of $58K per year.
Thank you. I'm confident I'll bring value to the organization. According to my research, the market rate in the area for someone with my demonstrated skill set is $60,000 to $68,000 per year. Would you consider an offer within that range?
Oh, Going above 60 is close to the maximum I can offer for this position.
I appreciate that. However, I believe I can use my capabilities in streamlining operations and reducing expenses to make the company even more profitable. I hope we can work together to come to a salary that reflects my qualifications.
Well, you are a good fit and it sounds like this would be workable. The best I can do is 62K.
Thank you. I'm also interested in discussing what benefits are available beyond healthcare and savings plans.
Ooh. What are you looking for?
Can you offer funding for professional development that would enhance my expertise and increase my value to the organization?
Yeah, we do have a program for that and we can offer you up to 2K towards professional development.
Okay, thank you for this generous offer. May I please get this in writing and I'll get my response to you by the end of the week?
Well, we have it all written out right here, but I can just fill in the numbers and away we go if you're ready to make a decision right now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Michael, for playing this role play with me.
Okay. All right, you got some hands up here, so maybe ask.
Yes. Hands up. Questions?
Brian, what do you got?
I have a question. Are these strategies that we're learning today more effective in a job that pays salary compared to a job that just does like a fixed wage?
These salaries versus.
Well, we're
fixed-
talking primarily about career at this point in time. However, if there is a fixed wage and there's a possibility that, in other words, sometimes they'll pay you between for the, say coming in, or maybe you've got some experience in that field. Say the range is, I don't know, $15 an hour to $18 an hour. You might be able to justify why you're worth the 18 versus the 15. Certainly.
Oh, okay, got it.
It's
Thank you.
most often with the actual salary. So, anything else? So, Michael, I sent you a sheet and I'm not sure if you sent it out to everybody. And that sheet was the one that talked about negotiation responses. Did you send that out to everyone?
You know, I sent out the workbook.
Okay, I can bring it and attach it. And then-
Well, can you bring it up on the screen and we'll just walk through it?
I'm going to walk through it, but I was going to share it. What I was looking to do next is to have people talk about this. So talk about negotiating.
All right, want to do a little breakout room for about 5 minutes?
Yeah, we're going to breakout room.
Okay, how many people in a room?
Gosh, we've got a large group. How about 3 or 4? 3 or 4?
Well, that's a lot because that's 10 people in a room.
No, I mean 3 or 4 people per room.
How many people?
About 4 people per room.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Let me set that up and we're ready to go.
And then what we'll do is the question is going to be, if you are in a breakout room that is an even number, your question is going to be.
Okay, you hear this, guys? Even number.
So you don't know yet what you're going to be. So, but if you're in an even numbered room, your question is going to be, what would you say when somebody says, what are your salary expectations? Okay. And the other question is for those people that that was the even number, right? I said, okay.
Yep.
The other group, if you're in an odd number room, your question is going to be, what would you say when they make you an offer and it's a little lower than what your salary expectations are? Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to put you together in groups of 4 people, have you discuss that, and then we'll see how much we can get back from you as far as what you came up with. Sound
Okay.
good?
Now, Elle, this is very important. So what I'm going to do, I have the breakout room set up. I'm just going to do a quick roll call, tell people what room they're in. You're going to repeat the question for odd and then even, right? Isn't that how you're splitting it?
Mhm.
Okay, so room 1 is Brianna, Sharice, Elle is in that room, and Juliet. Room 2, which is even, Edith, Cambixe, Mercedes, Nicholas. Room 3, Alexi, Kimberly, Rosa. Room 4, Brian, Eric, and Julia. Room 5, Odd, Danielle, Gerardo, Joanna. Room 6, Marilena, Ricky, and Stacy. Room 7, Brandon, Elizabeth, and Nikki. Anthony, Diane, and Keon is in room 8. And room 9 is Mohammed, Wendy, and Yesenia. And so now go ahead. What is the odd question? People in the odd rooms.
Okay, so they're offering you a salary figure lower than expectations.
Lower than expectations in the odd room. What about the even room?
Even room, and I'm putting it into the chat. The even room it is, what would you say to the question, what are your salary expectations?
What are
So,
your salary expectations if you're in the even numbered room?
right.
I'm opening the rooms right now. You guys talk about it. And what do you want them to talk about? How they would come to the number?
Well, not so much that, but what would you say to the response? So what would you say if to the question up front, what are your salary expectations? Remember we talked about deferring and then inquiring. And then if they offer you a salary figure lower than expectations, what would you say? Kind of like the role play that Mike and I went through there. What would you say to see if you could take it to a figure that is more advantageous to you?
Okay, here we go. I'm opening the rooms. Hope you guys remember. I know you're gonna get there and you're gonna go, what are we supposed to do? So I'm gonna post that and then we'll pop around the rooms. And Elle, I'm gonna move you between rooms and I will do the same.
And
All right, I think we're all getting back together again here. So, so Elle, some interesting things came up. What's going on? You want to run around the room here a little bit and see what people decided?
Yeah, again, based on how much time we have.
Yeah, 7 minutes.
All right.
And I want to do the post survey too.
Okay, so anybody, well, anybody just want to offer out, what would you say to the question? What is the salary range you're looking to make? Anybody, just jump in, volunteer. You talked it through.
Was it the question for the even people or?
I think that, I can't remember now the numbers we chose.
Yes, that's the question for the even people. I'll go
Okay.
ahead and start. My
I
group
think-
decided that it would be best if we just aim for the fences. So if we had a $60,000 to $70,000 range, we're going 75,000, and that way we start at a higher point, and then they can negotiate us down.
Okay, so if they are ready to offer you the position, right, and they offer you 60 to 70, right, this is the range we're going to pay, absolutely. You could say, gee, I was hoping for something a little closer to $85,000. And this is why, okay, if that's the question you're talking about.
But you have to be prepared to answer that question. What value am I bringing? And what is that job really worth to you guys?
And thanks for answering the question.
You're welcome.
And then the other question is, you're just now sitting down with the recruiter or the hiring manager and they say, what is the salary range what are your salary expectations? What do you say to that? And remember the acronym. This one's important because I think I've found that people, once they get that and feel really comfortable with it, it makes a big difference. Because most people go in, I'm so afraid it's gonna be different. So you're going to defer, right? What do you say when you defer?
I would say that I would like to learn about the role first before talking about any salary, and I would hope that the salary that my employer would be offering is around the range that most people in that role get.
Good. And then you would inquire, right?
Correct.
Yes, then you would inquire, what is the range that you have budgeted for this position? I think that really makes a big difference when you go into the negotiations. Because if they say the range they have budgeted is $20 to $30,000 and you've got to make 50 or 60, you may want to quit wasting both of your time, right? That type of thing. So you have to make the decision. Usually you're going to do the research and it's going to be close. All right. So
Did you say there was an acronym?
the acronym is DIR. Defer, inquire, reveal. Got that?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And everything we're talking about here is in your workbook. So I'll make sure that you have that and know that. And by the way, there might be other things that you could do. And I just mentioned that to the group before, and that is if you can't get the salary figure that you're looking for, but you get something close, again, we might be looking to negotiate for things such as vacation, the other types of benefits that we talked about, and those types of things. And somebody asked me that question earlier about getting a raise. You might say, well, if we can't do it right now, how about we look at it in 6 months? Yeah. Again, if I meet my obligations, how about 6 months from now? Okay.
What if it comes to like a person doing multiple jobs at one point? And
you're looking for a raise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you go about that?
Then you would actually say that, okay, okay, I'm at this rate. However, I'm doing this, this, and this. Is there any possibility that you could raise me up to a certain amount, or that I could get a raise? That type of thing. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I know I would love to answer all your questions in much more depth, but I can't. at this point in time because of time, because we have to fill out that survey as well. But I do want to bring this back up and share it with you if I can. Okay. So you will want to practice, and we just talked about that and explaining that and talking about how to back it up. And one more time, know your value, know your target. And then here is our survey. And what I'm going to need to do is have if you will, take a few minutes to complete our post-workshop survey. And I want to say thank you for joining us. And Michael, anything else you want to add? Or I would love to be able to talk a lot bit more with you. By the way, you've got my name. I'm on LinkedIn. If you've got any questions of me, feel free to connect with me. And by the way, if you're going to be looking for a job and you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. Set up a profile on LinkedIn, okay?
That was beautiful, Elle. Thank you. And, we accomplished a lot in a short period of time. So hopefully we increase the confidence of everybody to make more of themselves. I mean, you're the entity, you're the one that's generating the income, and the more you can get, the better deal you can put together, and make it a win-win for both you and the employer. The way we go.
And here's the information for the survey.
Yep.
I did mention to you those that are talking about actually, like you already have a job. There is a workshop called Work Smart, and you can go to salary.aauw.org. It's free, and you can take that online Work Smart workshop. Okay.
Yeah, and I will add that I did send out the workbook to everybody, or I sent the link to the PDF. If you did not get it or can't get it or whatever, please let me know, because this is your guide that you can refer back to what we talked about tonight. Elle, bring back up the post survey. Yeah, there you go. So that everybody can see that. So guys, as we wrap up here tonight, please do the post survey. Hopefully you'll be able to answer some of the questions in a little different manner than in the pre-survey. And let's all give Elle a big thumbs up, or a clap hands, or whatever. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Oh, that's my
thank you, Ms.
privilege. Thank you, Michael.
And I did record this, so I will post the recording as we go forward. So I'm going to just stand back. Elle, if you want to hang in for a few minutes, anybody have any specific questions or just want to chat with Elle for a second, I'll ask her to hang in here for a couple minutes while you're getting the survey done. And then we're going to take a break until our 5:30 kickoff for the next class.
Okay.
I have a question. It's not necessarily about negotiating. It's more so about an interview that I have on Thursday. It's not for my career choice. It's just, I'm a server at Olive Garden, but my job has been closed down. So I've been looking for other serving positions, and I got a call back from this steakhouse in Redondo Beach, but they have yet to even open up yet. And I've been working at my current job for about 3 years. And I know there's like specific questions I should ask them, like just because they haven't opened up yet. And I don't really know anything about like the way that they run things there. Or don't really have any like critique on other employees, like and how they may have liked their experience there. So I didn't know if you had any like specific questions or things that I should ask them that would kind of help me decide if I want to take the job there with them or not.
Okay, if you can get a job description, that would be helpful. I also, if it's a chain, you can go and look them up, look at their website and look at what they expect, what their mission is, what their purpose is, what's important to them, because some people it's about culture and some it's customer service and it's about the quality and some of those types of things. So find out as much as you can about the company. And
I did some research on them. It's not really a chain. Like the only thing that's popped up is their location, which they're just opening up. It's called the Rex Steakhouse. And I haven't heard any information besides that on them. And so I didn't know, like I kind of was thinking that I should ask them as far as like, how would they get their name out there to where they would know people would come and check out the new restaurant. But other than that, I haven't really thought of any questions.
Well, I think I would ask questions about the job. So about your responsibilities, what are your responsibilities going to be? What are they looking for in the right people? In other words, what are the qualities they're looking for? What is important to them? And again, at the end of the day, what are the most important things that they're looking for? I mean, you've got the job description, you go and do the jobs, but what is that person that you're interviewing with looking for within you? And
I'm going to jump in here for just a second. I think I know the steakhouse, or I know the restaurant, possibly. Do you know who the owners are?
I do not. I just know it's located on Avenue I in Redondo Beach.
Right. And if it's Michael Bell and they've had Chez Melange, they've had a number of good restaurants. They closed down their restaurant in the Riviera Village and to open a steakhouse. And there's some really good people behind that. I don't remember if it's called Rex, but if you can find out a little bit more about who is put behind it. When are they opening?
They didn't say. They just invited me for an interview on Thursday, and that's when they told me they'd give me a bunch of information.
Okay. All right.
yeah, you want to find out what the range is that they're going to pay you too.
Yeah, it said on the Indeed website that it was 13, which is minimum wage. And I didn't know if that was like also another thing that I should negotiate, because I have been a server at another place. It's not like a fine dining, but it's still a place where I've gained a lot of experience from there.
Is there a difference between tips and how much you get different places too? I mean, I don't know how that works today, but that might be important too.
Yeah, like at the place
Shared, or is it yours? Right.
there's 2% that goes to a busser and 2% that goes to the bartender, and then the rest is for me to keep. But I do like the fact that we get to take home our tips every night rather than just them added on to our paycheck.
Wonderful. Super.
Yeah.
So more than anything about the job itself, and then of course you might be asking, and you could certainly say, okay, I understand this and I've got this much experience. Is there any accommodation for that? Do you think maybe you could offer me whatever?
Okay.
Okay.
And then what was the name of the person that you said you might think is the owner? We said it was Michael.
Yeah, Michael Bell. Yeah, they've been in the restaurant world here for 20, 30 plus years. And I'm just looking it up. It's a Rex Steakhouse right on Avenue I, 221 Avenue I?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at Yelp. They obviously, if they're not open, they don't have too much on the Yelp side. But I'll find out. You sound like you got some great background. It'd be a great fit. I mean, obviously, the question is, they probably are going to be serving outside. Because most restaurants, I think, are closed to inside dining, or they're limited. And two, when does this start? And three, what are the opportunities that, bring your skills and match it up with the opportunities there. But if it's the folks that they've been around for quite a while, they will have no problem generating a really big size crowd there. So.
Okay, well, thank you both for the input.
And it's a steakhouse too, so that might be more expensive. So your percentage of the take would be better than somewhere else too.
Right, that's why I really applied for it, because the chain restaurant, it's like $15, $20 plates, but I know steakhouse would be probably like $25 to $30 plates. So.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, good luck with it. Absolutely.
Anybody else questions? You hung around, so I imagine you have something.
I have a question, but it's for the professor.
Okay, go ahead.
Professor, in regards to our project number 2, for the presentation, I'm a little stuck on that one. Would we have to create a PowerPoint for us to present?
Yes.
Oh, okay. PowerPoint must consist of what? The things on
campus? You're gonna tell me about your business. What is the business? Why? Maybe I'm an investor, or maybe I'm the bank, or maybe I'm, somebody that you want to convince that this is a good business that you're opening up. So you're going to put together a story about your business.
Okay, so, sounds good. I just wasn't sure whether we should put a PowerPoint together or if we just use the Canvanizer.
No, it's the Canvanizer will generate a PowerPoint, but it's a very limited PowerPoint.
Okay.
And I think, isn't that step 4 of the project? Is
Uh-huh.
is to create a presentation. And I always look at it, hey, I've got to sell what I'm producing here, which is a new business. And so so if I call on you and say, Wendy, sell the class on why this business is going to be successful and what's behind it,
Yeah.
be prepared. So, but do it in a few slides, less than 10.
Less than 10 slides. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure it was less than 10 or like about approximately how many slides it was going to be
I
on.
don't have a specific number enough for you to tell me the story. Don't
Okay.
use
And then-
minimal words, maximum pictures, maximum
Okay.
images and graphics. Yep.
And then for our reflection, how, like, is it just a 1-page reflection on what research we did, or?
Yeah, I think I asked for 2, but yeah, well, why did you do it? What thought did you do behind it? How how did you go about getting information to fill out the Canvanizers on both your
Okay.
SWOT analysis? and your
Yeah,
business model?
because I haven't done as much research on mine, just because, well, one, I currently work at a speech therapy clinic. 2, my son attends one, so I just pretty much like using my experiences as like working in that same industry, and having my son being in the same industry. It's kind of like,
Well, that might be limited from a standpoint of just that only perspective that you've got there. I would hope that you'd be looking at where that industry is going, what the trends are in it. How can I make it better? If I was going to have my own business, what would I do different to make it more successful? Those kind of things. So,
okay. Okay, and then how would I just look that up on, like, for trends? Would I just pretty much Google how?
you can. There's the primary research, secondary research. There's lots of different ways that you can research things. So, and that's Google's obviously a fallback, but I would. We got a library at school. You can, check around other sources and talk to the people that run the school. Interview the owner, find out how they run their business.
Okay, and then one more thing, could I go ahead and use working in that industry or working in that field as a research, just because I know pretty much